After the two long-haul races in America and Brazil, the World Championship makes its European debut here on the superb Imola circuit for the San Marino Grand Prix. And in a situation where every World Championship point counts this season, the reigning champion, Ayrton Senna, starts at Imola with a commanding lead of 11 points, having won at Phoenix and Interlagos in the brand new McLaren with its equally new Honda V12 engine.
Our car this year is a lot better than our previous car, the V10 from 1990. The engineers, technicians made some radical changes on the car concept, which were fundamental for solving some of the critical problems we had with our previous car. We had this feeling immediately when we first tested the car in Portugal before Phoenix, and it proved to be correct that the car is a lot better than a year ago.
But Britain's hope for the #1 spot, Nigel Mansell, has yet to score after retiring from the first two races. He's been having an exciting time during practice at Imola, but he's happy to be back with the Williams team.
I don't have to worry about anything now, Murray. I mean, it's so different. I mean, even the relationship with Ricardo, it's no problem if he's quicker or he beats me or whatever, because, you know, I know how quick I can go, and I'm pretty sure the team do as well. What we've got to do is work together to get the best package together, and then when my reliability comes, or we have our little turn of luck, shall we say, I mean, we'll fly.
It may be the San Marino Grand Prix, but Imola is in Italy, and Italy means Ferrari. Ferrari means Alain Prost in his second year with the Maranello team, who disappointed their fans with a poor performance in Brazil. But since then, they've made major changes, and Prost is much happier with the revised car. Benetton have got an entirely new car, designed by John Barnard, with a more powerful revised Ford V8 engine for 3 times world champion Brazilian Nelson Piquet and his countryman Roberto Marino. And one of the prettiest cars at Imola is the all-new Brabham Yamaha. But the two Britons, Martin Brundle and Mark Blundell, have still got a lot of work to do. And there's great news from Norfolk, where Martin Donnelly, recovering well from his crash last year, has married his childhood sweetheart, Louise McQuirter, and hopes to race again soon. As ever, it's all go in the pit lane at Imola, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more to a Formula One team than you'd think. Jonathan Palmer.
This is one of the 2 Tyrrell cars that are being raced this season. Let's consider just how many people it takes to put them on the grid. Well, clearly, there are the drivers, Stefano Modena and Satoru Nakajima, who started the year so well with 4th and 5th places at Phoenix. None was more delighted than team founder Ken Tyrrell, who masterminded 3 World Championship victories for Jackie Stewart. Now it's his son Bob who's taken over as managing director. Racing teams are all about engineering, and this area is headed by Harvey Postlethwaite, the engineering director who oversees the 8 designers who are continually working on the next new car. Its shape is formed by the 2 model makers prior to extensive wind tunnel evolution by 4 aerodynamicists. Manufacture then commences with 15 in the composites department, another 6 in the machine shop, and 4 fabricators, largely just making the suspension. Complex wiring demands 2 electricians. The gearbox is assembled by 3 more specialist mechanics, and the engine is prepared by Honda technicians both here and in Japan. Final assembly of all the components is handled by a team of 5 more mechanics. Now the completed cars must be transported around the world, and the 3 transporters are manned by 5 truckies. Testing begins with 3 dedicated test team mechanics. Meanwhile, 3 in the marketing department are finalising and supporting the sponsor lineup, whose budget is managed by 4 accountants. Administrative and other staff comprise another 10 or so people. And finally, the bit you see, the cars running at a Grand Prix weekend, can be considered. Here, the 2 race engineers establish just what work the 12 race mechanics must do, and it is the team manager who controls this tip of the iceberg. So there we are, over 100 hard-working individuals, all to enable these 2 to go motor racing.
On the front row of the grid in pouring rain, the winners for the last 3 years. Senna, pole position, Riccardo Patrese second. Then Prost Ferrari and Nigel Mansell's Williams. Berger fifth, and Stefano Modina's Tyrrell 6th. And the two Minardis of Morbidelli and Martini 8th and 9th.
And there's a spinner there already. That's a Ferrari. And was that Prost or was it a Lazy? That was Prost. And another spinner. So there's, I would suspect there's a big puddle. It looks like there's a river running across the track there. That was Berger. Prost, if Prost stalled his engine, he's in real trouble. And it looks like he has. Prost looked to me to be trying to get out of his car then. And if Prost has stalled, I don't see how he's going to get back into the race at all.
Out of the car, he's not starting. Well, this is dreadful for Ferrari, their top man, an enormous benefit for Ayrton Senna, who's not only starting at the front of the grid, but has now had one of his main rivals, Alain Prost, the world champion 3 times, removed from the San Marino Grand Prix before it even starts, and for such a trivial reason. And it's go, let's see. Nigel Mansell comes out and slots in front of Gerhard Berger, who is passed by Modena. Very bad start by Gerhard Berger, and into the lead goes Riccardo Patrese. And so now it's Ayrton Senna who is going to have to take a faceful of water, and that's going to be very hard indeed for him. Riccardo Patrese well fired up, the man who won last year in the Williams Renault. Now he's coming down to the Tosa here. In second place is Senna, third is Modena, fourth is Berger, fifth is the second Ferrari of Jean Alesi, and already things are happening.
Yes, and Nigel Mansell seemed to get off the line all right and then have a stutter, and he's well down the field. Mansell just suddenly stopped. The cars went in every direction to get round him.
So he's out. Mansell spins. It's happened to Prost, it's happened to Mansell, it's happened to Berger for Prost and Berger, of course, before the race began. Now, is Nigel Mansell out of his 3rd Grand Prix? Yes, he's got to be, because if he has a push start, he's out of the race. Out comes the steering wheel, and Nigel Mansell is the first retirement from the San Marino Grand Prix, and it happened on lap 2. That's the 3rd time we've seen Mansell walk in 3 races.
Yes, and that looked like gearbox trouble right from the start, and so much for the secret steering wheel, because the way that came out, that'll be on an Italian marshal's wall by this evening. And there's Nelson Piquet. Piquet clearly spun off into the sand in the brand new Benetton, and although they've had a lot of trouble with it this weekend, in fact, his teammate Roberto Marino went very well with the car in the warm-up this morning.
Oh, you can see what the problem is. Well, Nigel Mansell thunderstruck, obviously, and justifiably a very, very unhappy man. And Gerhard Berger is up into 3rd position ahead of Stefano Modena, who is followed by Jean Alesi in 5th position. And at the end of the first lap, Riccardo Patrese led Ayrton Senna by 2.5 seconds. Modena is now being challenged by Jean Alesi. This is the corner that can cause trouble and has caused trouble. And you saw Jean Alesi up into 4th position, lock up and go off. Alesi off.
Yes, and that was over brave by Alesi, because he put 2 wheels on the grass when he was braking, trying to get inside Modena under braking, which was an extremely risky manoeuvre. And he then was just going too quickly around the... Now he's just come off the grass. He's already been on the grass once there with the right-hand wheels. And now he's sliding the car into the corner, and he just runs out of grip. He's not so much out of control, he just hasn't got the grip, and he slides wide. But that was over-enthusiastic driving in these conditions in a 200-mile race. And the lazy inexperience there has thrown it away for him.
So race order then, as you watch Ayrton Senna nearly losing it there. Patrese leads, Senna 2nd, Berger 3rd, Modena 4th, Nakajima 5th, Martini 6th, Morbidelli 7th, De Cesaris is 8th, Marino is 9th, Leto is 10th, Van der Poel in his 1st Grand Prix in the Lamborghini is 11th, and Mauricio Gugelmin is 12th, as you look at Mika Hakkinen. Now, mark my words, watch this man. Watch Mika Hakkinen, because he was sensational in the wet in the Lotus yesterday. 3rd fastest. He's the youngest man in the race, and the Judd V8 engine in the Lotus gives ideal power, and that's Mark Blundell. He's obviously had a spin. and this is Roberto Marino battling with Andrea De Cesaris. And there's battles all through the field. Now, De Cesaris in the green Jordan Ford, chased by Brazilian Roberto Moreno in the Benetton with the Ford V8 engine.
Well, De Cesaris, I think justifiably there, but was leaning on Moreno. And that is Blundell having his spin. We saw him recovering from that. The good thing he didn't go any further, because he might have collected the Lotus.
And you can see that Senna is inching up on Patrese, and the two of them are some 7 seconds ahead of Gerhard Berger, who is third, some 5 seconds ahead of fourth position, Stefano Modena. Master tactician, master driver in the wet or the dry, and he's proving it now. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he challenges, and he has done so, and he nips through on braking at the chicane, and into the pits comes Riccardo Patrese. Now, is this tyres?
This is tyres, and that's interesting. He's certainly gone for the brave decision to do the early tyre stop, and there still looks to be a lot of water on some parts of the circuit, so we'll look at Patrese's lap times. And his engine wasn't sounding too healthy then either, so maybe he's come in because he's got some sort of an engine problem, maybe a bit of water in the electrics. Well, they're having a look at the engine cover. The dry tyres are on, so it looks to me as if Patrese has got some sort of a mechanical problem. Yes, it's more than just tyres.
Well, it looks as though this race is going to be equally disastrous for Williams as it already has been for Ferrari. Prost out before the race began, Alesi out on lap 3, Nigel Mansell out on lap 2, and now, although Riccardo Patrese is not actually out of the race, effectively he is, because look at the way the time is ticking away, and Riccardo still sitting in the car, having a discussion with Patrick Head, the car's designer. Very agitated, Riccardo. This is the man who won last year, and he's had victory snatched from him, a potential victory this year. And Ayrton Senna's lead is down to just over 5 seconds now over Gerhard Berger. There are no team orders in the McLaren team. Ayrton Senna, of course, with a commanding World Championship lead over Gerhard Berger of 16 points. Wouldn't have to worry too much if Gerhard Berger caught and passed him, although the Brazilian's pride would be very much affected. But at the present moment, Berger is lapping some 1.5 seconds faster, or did on the previous lap, than his teammate Ayrton Senna, and Berger's got everything to go for. I think he must feel very humble about the fact that in his second year with McLaren, having won for Benetton, having won for Ferrari, he has yet to win for McLaren. And a lot of people who know have been saying in the pit lane that Berger is the man to watch.
In the meantime, Senna and Berger trading fastest laps. The circuit is definitely drying out now, and it must be getting very close to dry tyres time. Not quite yet. There are still some rather treacherous wet bits around, but within the next 2 laps, I think the early changes should be in.
And Ayrton Senna is scheduled to come into the pits on the next step, and it's Julian Bailey going through on the inside. Julian Bailey is actually ahead of his teammate Mika Hakkinen, and the race order, Ayrton Senna on lap 40. Now here's Berger into the pits. He was in second place. A good pit stop, I remind you, is 7 seconds. Anything less is very good, and that is terrific. Gerhard Berger, 6.45 seconds, and that was lap 14.
You can see there's a dry line nearly the whole way around the circuit, and that's definitely tyre changing time as De Cesaris comes in his Jordan.
And McLaren, the McLaren pit is ready for Ayrton Senna now, leading the race by 20 seconds with Gerhard Berger having rejoined. And I'm pretty sure that Senna will get back in the lead. Now, let's wait and see. Remember, Gerhard Berger's pit stop time was 6.4 seconds. Anything longer than that will mean that Senna's lead has been reduced, and it's been reduced by 1 second. And he's going to come out of the pits just about as Gerhard Berger approaches the finishing straight and goes through, and Senna rejoins the race in the lead, just 5 seconds now ahead of Gerhard Berger. Now, here is Gugelmin leading Van der Poel and the McLaren goes through. That's the gap. And look at the way Gerhard Berger closes up on braking and goes through on the inside. The gap is really narrowing now, and Gerhard Berger will be seeing for himself an opportunity to get into the lead at San Marino. They are both on new tyres. Lap 15. Long way to go yet. Now, coming up to catch Thierry Boutsen in the Ligier and Maurizio Gugelmin in the Leighton House is Ayrton Senna. And he's bound to lose some time here. Even Ayrton Senna is going to have a job to get past both of them in one go. And that will give Gerhard Berger, second in the second red and white McLaren Honda, the opportunity to close right up on the race leader. And it is happening. There's the confirmation that Gerhard Berger is now the fastest man on the circuit. 1 minute 36.96. Well down on the lap record held by Alain Prost in the McLaren. 1 minute 26.8. Just enjoy this as they come up to the top chicane. And Senna is past the Ligier of Thierry Boutsen and Berger is not. But now Senna has got to catch and pass Maurizio Gugelmin, his Brazilian countryman in the Leighton House. This is the Rivazza, second gear. And Senna is a past master at carving his way through the traffic. And Gerhard Berger will be fuming there as he sees his opportunity fading away.
Yes, and these cars that are still on wet tyres will be clinging to the dry bit of road and slowing down the quicker cars, but most of the front runners have changed. Modena's been in and out, put dry tyres on without losing third place. So Senna gets through. Berger still at the back of that bunch, and that won't please him because he's got an awful lot of traffic in his way, and one daren't go far off the racing line here. Well, he's tiptoed his way through there past Boutsen, and he hasn't lost too much ground to Senna.
Now let's just absorb this. Senna and Berger leading, and then in third and fourth positions the two Tyrrell Hondas. So it's Honda powered cars, first, second, third and fourth. That's one of them. And out of the race goes Nakajima. Satoru Nakajima has overcooked it somewhere and retires from fourth position. And that means to say that up into the new fourth position now comes Pierluigi Martini with Roberto Marino up into fifth place. And Julian Bailey is in the points in the Lotus. In his first Grand Prix of 1991, Julian Bailey is in sixth place. Terrific performance, and Mika Hakkinen is going extremely well too. He is 10th. Now go the McLaren boards to Senna and Berger, place 1 and place 2. And Riccardo Patrese back in the race.
Yes, and they've got nearly a minute's lead over Stefano Modena, who's in third place. So at the moment this looks like a McLaren demonstration run, and quite honestly I think that's something will have to go wrong with the McLarens for anything fundamentally to change, with their main rivals already out of the race. Tremendous performance in the wet by Julian Bailey, but of course he's losing ground now by not having changed his tyres, and he really needs to get in and get onto dry tyres, but that certainly doesn't take away from his marvellous performance in the wet.
Senna has just lapped Andrea De Cesaris in the Jordan Ford, and De Cesaris is in 10th position. And off the course goes the Lola of Eric Bernard, the Frenchman. It looks to me as though he's not only off the course, but out of the race on lap 19.
Yes, new fastest lap now for Riccardo Patrese. So whilst he is not in contention for the race, he's out there splitting the McLarens, and believe me, he's going to enjoy himself in front of his home crowd. He's still basking in his win in this race last year, which he really enjoyed, despite the fact that it was inherited after Berger slowed down and handed it over to him. But he really made him a very happy man, and he will be out to enjoy himself this afternoon, and I'm quite sure he'd like to stay between the McLarens and then slowly chip away at Senna's lead. And there's nothing that Patrese would like to do for his own ego and pride and for the fun of the fans here is to catch and pass Ayrton Senna and unlap himself. Unfortunately, he's got several laps to unlap, and he's not going to do that, but he can at least have fun.
As Senna goes through to lap Roberto Marino, who is in 4th position in the new Benetton Ford, it would look more and more like Senna's 3rd World Championship. And this is only the 3rd out of 16 races. Riccardo Patrese touring again. Well, he looks destined not to stop. Well, he's out of the race, no doubt about it this time. Riccardo Patrese definitely retires on lap 23. And so far, then, the Williams team in 3 races have had Nigel Mansell retire in Phoenix, in Brazil and San Marino. They've had Patrese retire at Phoenix and San Marino. They've only had 1 finish. Race order, then, on lap 23. Senna 7.5 seconds ahead of Berger, who is very nearly a minute ahead of Stefano Modena in 3rd position. Roberto Moreno has been lapped and is 4th. Ivan Capelli, good news for the Leighton House Ilmore team, in 5th position. Good news for 2 Dallara. In 6th position is JJ Leto. Thierry Boutsen is the highest he has ever been in a Grand Prix this year since joining Ligier, having left Williams, not of his own volition, is in 7th place. Julian Bailey, a great 8th.
Well, we've just got a report from the pits that Mansell's problem was indeed gearbox. His gearbox had a habit of selecting neutral all of its own accord. He couldn't get 2nd gear at all, and his exit from the race, though, was caused by being hit up the back as one of the Leighton House's spins, and that's Capelli, who was running up in 5th place. So problems for Capelli. He's thrown away a very good placing for him. Hopefully he'll get going again, but you will not know, and the car's sitting its tummies on the curb there. And so Mansell, in fact, no doubt, well, he was messing around trying to get gears, was hit up the back on the 1st lap, and that is what actually put him out of the race.
Well, this looks like Ivan Capelli again. Yes, he's just spinning out. Now, you can see he goes over the curb, and if you can't get it going yourself, you are automatically out. And you're looking now at Andrea De Cesaris and Julian Bailey, who are 8th and 9th. And Bailey goes through. Julian Bailey driving a terrific race. It's only his 7th Grand Prix. Senna coming up to lap the 3rd place man. This is quite an incredible performance by the Brazilian. The 3rd place man in the blue and white Tyrrell Honda is Stefano Modena, and he doesn't exactly hang about. And Modena coming up to try and get past Thierry Boutsen. So you've got 3 cars on 3 different laps, and Modena, as Senna tries to pass him, moves out from behind Boutsen, and now Modena slams the door in Senna's face. No scruples there.
Yes, and I have to say, I don't think Modena saw Senna, which is a little bit naughty. Modena was clearly concentrating on the Ligier on the straight. He pulled out just as Senna was pulling out, and I don't think he'd clocked that he was there, and that is surprising, because Modena is a very intelligent thinking driver, and I would have expected him to be very well aware of what was around him.
And at the present moment, although Senna is coming up to lap Modena, who is in 3rd position, as James has said, he's either taking his time about it or finding it harder than he thought. And we're on lap 34 now, over half distance in the 61-lap race, as Senna goes to try and go through again. Berger 16.5 seconds behind. Modena is 1.5 minutes behind Senna. That's a full lap, and you can see that for yourselves. Roberto Moreno has been lapped in 4th place, so it's McLaren, Tyrrell, Benetton, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. JJ Leto still 5th in the Dallara. Andrea De Cesaris in the points for Jordan, 6th.
Now we'll see Senna getting a tow from the Tyrrell, and we'll see just how easily he can make it past. Remember, both Honda engines. Well, he didn't exactly waft past him. It was a struggle.
Now, it looks to me as though Julian Bailey is going to be up there in the points again very quickly. And Mika Hakkinen is off the street. He's in 10th position. Mika Hakkinen, Senna, Berger, Modena, Marino, Leto, De Cesaris, Martini, Thierry Boutsen, Van der Poel, Hakkinen. So it's the Jordan. There's Andre De Cesaris. He's taken a lot of stick over the years, but ahead of him now is Mika Hakkinen, and behind him is Julian Bailey. So the Lotuses are having the best race they have had in 1991 by a very considerable margin. And that is Andrea De Cesaris into the pits. He was in 6th position, and it looks to me from the leisurely way he's sitting there and the lack of frenetic activity around the car as though his race is almost over. They're working on the back of the car. It may be gearbox, it may be something, a loose diffuser, something like that.
And that looks like Modena.
Well, now this means to say that with the Italian out of the race and 3rd position, up into the points with Modena sadly shaking his head. I don't know what the problem is, but whatever it is, he's out of the race because he's stopped and he's not allowed to have a push start. And that means to say that Roberto Moreno comes up into the points in the first race for the new Benetton Ford 191 into 3rd position, with JJ Leto into 4th position. And it's not going to be long now before the swooping JJ Leto in the scarlet and white Dallara goes past Roberto Moreno. 25-year-old JJ Leto from Espoo in Finland. There he goes.
Yes, and you can hear the misfire then from Moreno's car, unless that was somebody else, but I heard a misfire go past us. Gerhard Berger, new fastest lap of 1 minute 26.531. That must be threatening the lap record, and that is a new lap record. So he's being allowed to have a bit of fun. Let's see if in the remaining laps, we've got a few more of them, whether Senna will be allowed to have a go at it.
Roberto Moreno out of the race, very definitely, with flame licking out of the back of the Benetton. And the race, the real race at the present moment, is that between Julian Bailey and Mika Hakkinen, who've been just lapped by Ayrton Senna for 7th position. They're virtually together.
It's now for 6th position, of course, because with Moreno out, that moves Julian Bailey into the points, and that will be a tremendous moment of excitement for him. But he'll have to battle his teammate Mika Hakkinen, who's right behind him. He'll have to battle him to maintain that to the end.
This is lap 58, and it's Senna leading Berger. We know that. Leto is 3rd. We know that. Roberto Moreno is out, so up to 4th position goes Pierluigi Martini. Up to 5th goes Van der Poel. Up to 6th goes Bailey in the points. 7th is Hakkinen. Boutsen dropping back, so Gugelmin will now be in 9th position. Mark Blundell 10th, 3 laps down. Comas and Brundle. I'm just waiting to see Gerhard Berger go through to tell you how... Well, he's much closer. He's only 5.3 seconds behind now. Out of the race goes Mauricio Gugelmin. What rotten luck for... Well, that means 6 failures to finish out of 6 starts for the Leighton House Ilmore team, with Mauricio Gugelmin failing to finish. Now, there is Ayrton Senna, and Berger, as I just told you, had got the gap down to 5 seconds. Leto is 3rd. Martini is 4th. Van der Poel 5th.
And Mika Hakkinen has moved past Julian Bailey with his personal fastest lap of the race, up into 6th place. So the 2 Lotus drivers, they've been swapping places right throughout this Grand Prix, and now it's Hakkinen's turn to have a go at Van der Poel, who's a couple of seconds in front.
You saw Senna bully his way past Eric Comas, and there's the reason. Look at Gerhard Berger. They're coming up to start the last lap now, and Gerhard Berger is really flying, really going for it. Lap 61 coming up, that's the last lap of the race, and Gerhard Berger started this lap 5 seconds behind Ayrton Senna. You can see that it's a lot less than that now. Has Senna got a problem? If he hasn't got a problem, he's once again being astonishingly cool. I said that at Brazil. I said that Senna was pacing himself to victory. I didn't know that he had a gearbox problem. I didn't know that Patrese, who was catching him, has got a gearbox problem. But look at this. Gerhard Berger bearing down on Ayrton Senna as they go up to the Tosa for the last time. Now they're climbing to the Piratella. 155 miles an hour, building to 190 miles an hour as they go round the left-hander, which they're approaching now. Senna. Berger, it's going to be very close, but even if Berger catches Senna, I don't see how the Austrian can possibly get past the Brazilian, because Senna only has to hold the racing line, and Gerhard Berger will not be able to get through. Is it another gearbox problem for Ayrton Senna?
No, we listened as he went past. He went right up through the gearbox, so he certainly had all the gears as he came past the pits just now.
So it isn't. Maybe he is just rubbing it in.
Yes, he was just, I think, slowing up, even if he had a problem with Berger moving up and getting excited. But Senna was really just judging it in. After all, they haven't been racing each other for a very long time, apart from the little fun and games they had with fastest lap. And I'm glad to see, I think, that finally stayed with Berger as Senna comes in for yet another fine win.
To cross the line and win the San Marino Grand Prix of 1991, his third win in 3 races this year. Maximum points, therefore, in each of them. 30 points, Ayrton Senna. Gerhard Berger finishes second to get 6 points and bring his total up to 10. And Van der Poel is retiring on the last lap.
But that, of course, moves Julian Bailey. It should be, if he gets round up into the points, as it does. And so the 2 Lotuses finish 5th and 6th, and really bad luck, as you say, on Van der Poel. But my guess would be that he's run out of petrol with that big thirsty V12 engine.
So a 29th Grand Prix victory at Imola for Ayrton Senna, and that's the first time that any driver has ever won the first 3 Grand Prix of the season. Gerhard Berger, Senna's teammate, second, and an excellent 3rd place for JJ Leto. 4th, Pierluigi Martini, and 5th and 6th, the Lotus drivers, Mika Hakkinen and Julian Bailey. And in the Drivers' Championship, Ayrton Senna now leads his teammate Gerhard Berger by 20 points. Down to 3rd goes Alain Prost. 4th equal, Riccardo Patrese and Nelson Piquet. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren lead with 4 times the points of Ferrari. 3rd equal, Benetton and Williams. In 5th place, Tyrrell, and in 6th position, Delara. Well, in 2 weeks' time, it's the street circuit race at Monaco on BBC One. Watch it and see whether anyone can challenge Senna and McLaren.